If you've been looking to turn your inspiration, motivations, and supportive habits and ground them into consistent routines that are a part of your life rather than a one-off spark of ideas, then this new moon in the very grounding earth sign of Taurus is for you. We see that when the moon and sun come together in the sign of Taurus, there's this easier alignment between our outer motivations and our deeper rooted desires. And with Jupiter and Pluto having some pretty notable transits at the time of this lunation, we'll be seeing an increase in this motivation and mental clarity that we need to take aligned steps in the direction that we desire. Hello friends, it's your girl Alina back for another video for this new moon energy reading. And in this one, we'll talk about all things Taurus new moon, the top transit surrounding it, along with ways to align with this lunation with journal prompts at the end for us to reflect and intention set together. Now, first up, let's talk about the nature of a new moon. As many of y'all know, new moons mark the beginning of a new lunar cycle, where we see that from the point of this lunation, the energy and the light will build on the moon's surface all the way to its energetic peak at the full moon. And this is why we see that many people do new moon intention setting and rituals, where they reflect upon the previous lunar cycle, what worked, what didn't work, what sparks gratitude, and they really rest and reflect, because just as we see mirrored in the cosmos with the moon, it's at its lowest energetic point. And just like the phases of the moon, we too have our own energetic phases. And so it's this cosmic reminder that it is just as important to rest and reflect as it is to be in action and build momentum upon any sort of intentions that we set. And just as we see that the light builds on the moon all the way to its energetic peak, so too will the momentum around the intentions that we set at this time. And with this new moon being in the fixed earth sign of Taurus, this sign of relaxation, patience, and pleasures of the material world, a sign that's also ruled by Venus, the planet of love and relationships, this new moon is bringing in this energetic support within those realms, particularly within finance, relationship building, and starting new paths or fortifying existing ones in those directions. Now, Taurus new moons can be an optimal time for rest, self-care, exploring how we might create routines and stability, along with reflection, intention setting. And these things can be centered on things like our financial goals, financial wellness, relationship support, and maintaining structures within our lives. Now, I feel called to remind y'all that having financial goals and intentions doesn't just mean maybe planning out ways to get rich or buying lottery tickets, though those can be fun to do too. It means watering the plant that is our financial wellness. Now, that can mean finally sitting down and educating ourselves on things like our Roth IRAs or the state of our 401k, or finally sitting down to refine our budgets and watching videos or reading articles that answer any questions that we might have. Another aspect that I feel called to remind y'all about is that relationship building and starting of new relationship cycles, while it can mean romantically, it can also show up as finding ways to connect with our family, whether that's setting up game nights, meetups, Zoom meetings, and creating community. This fostering of community and family is just as important as our romantic relationships. And I'm sure all of y'all know that, but I wanted to offer the reminder. And looking at transits surrounding this new moon, we're seeing a lot of potential luck in these areas and energetic support for even small steps in those directions if we feel called to do so. Next up, let's talk top transits surrounding this new moon. So first up, actually 3 days before this new moon, one of the biggest transits of the month and really the year, in my opinion, happens when we see Jupiter, the planet of luck, expansion, and growth, entering the earth sign and ruler of the second house, Taurus. So as mentioned before, Taurus is a fixed earth sign that is associated with stability, comfort in all aspects of our material possessions and sensory experiences. So Jupiter will be in this sign for about a year, really offering overall increased luck specifically for any Taurus sun, moon, or rising. But if you'd like to find what area in your life that would be most impacted by Jupiter's shift, it will be super helpful to find what house Jupiter will be entering in your personal chart. By doing this, you'll be able to see where you'll have more increased luck and potential for expansion to better help you focus on those areas over the course of this next year. Now, Jupiter in Taurus will also usher in this overarching theme for humanity, where we move from the Jupiter in Aries themes of spending time thinking more about maybe just our personal wants and needs and leaning more towards risk-taking. And we'll move from there to focus more on our material possessions, our financial health, and stability. There may also be an increased desire for comfort, as well as a greater appreciation for the finer things in life, as that being a key characteristic of Taurus. Now, we'll also see Jupiter squaring with Pluto on the 19th, the day of this May new moon, which can increase our sense of ambition and drive within the collective. It can be a bit easier to make money, and there is this tension that the squared aspect offers us that can really drive us to be a lot more action-oriented when it comes to getting what we want. Now, with Jupiter being this money sign, in the money sign of Taurus during this transit, it can offer a great time for taking initiative within these realms. Now, this transit can also increase our egoic need for control, so be conscious of that as well. So overall, Jupiter transiting the sign of Taurus will most positively impact Sun, Moon, and Rising Tauruses. And again, you can find what house Taurus will be entering into to learn more about how this transit will directly impact you. Now, if you've been waiting for maybe more clear thinking and energy along with mental clarity to organize things in your life, this sextile between Mercury and Saturn at the time of this lunation will be for you. Now, this is because we see Mercury, the planet of information exchange, communication, and learning new things, as having a very complementary sextile aspect with Saturn, the planet of restriction, order, and coming of age. So overall, when we see these planets coming together like this, it can offer us this boost in critical thinking skills. And it can be an optimal time for reviewing things like paperwork, researching, and studying. Especially coming out of this Mercury retrograde, as we see it ends on May 14th, this can be a perfect time for doing our due diligence in any contracts or important information that needs reviewing. Next up, we're seeing that Mars will be opposing Pluto at the time of this Taurus new moon in May, bringing in a higher potential for intensity and even conflict. But it's when we focus this energy in the right way, this transit can actually offer us a stronger sense of passion for accomplishing our deepest desires. And this is because we see that Mars, the planet of courage, passion, and assertiveness, is having this very tension-filled opposition with Pluto, the planet of transformation, and the necessary death that comes in order for the rebirth. So overall, physical and creative actions during this time are very favored, as this transit can offer an increase in potential aggression, passion, and egoic urges that, when channeled properly towards creating our desired life, can be very, very powerful. And the final transit that I'd like to cover is that a few days following this new moon on the 21st, we will see that the sun will be entering the twin sign of Gemini, marking the start of Gemini season. So shout out to my fellow Geminis. My big 3-0 birthday is actually happening on the 22nd, so I am very excited and grateful to be alive. Now, Gemini offers us an air of increased adaptability as we get settled into the spring season or autumn season for our southern hemisphere, along with energetic support within the realms of communication, critical thinking, and creativity. Now, this air sign of Gemini is mutable and is very open-minded to learning and exchanging new information. So this season will be a very lovely time for socializing with new people and new spaces and exploring innovative approaches to familiar routines, along with being open to considering new perspectives, even if they don't immediately just seem normal to you. All right, next up, let's talk ways to align with this Taurus new moon energy. So setting intentions around reflecting on qualities that of Taurus will be very helpful. So reflecting on how you enjoy more sensory pleasures in life, becoming more financially literate, or building your financial wellness through education, along with creating more structure and consistency in life through our routines. And as I've already mentioned, reflecting on what this already looks like in our life. So expressing gratitude for how far that we've come and embracing what is. Now, I say this because for some, the idea of exploring ways to expand within these themes of Taurus can be very energizing in terms of planning and getting clear on what direction we're taking. And for others, we might feel more called to reflect upon, have acceptance on, and express gratitude for what is, without thinking of what else we'd like to create. And that's perfectly okay, especially during this very restful and self-loving Taurus-themed new moon. Either way, exploring Taurus new moon themes at this time will be especially supportive as we embark on this new lunar cycle. All right, let's dive into this May Taurus new moon collective perspective. So this is a segment where I talk about the collective perspective of this lunation relative to our volunteer or humanitarian efforts. What are ways that we can engage and support our community that's in alignment with the themes astrologically going on at this time? So with these transits in consideration, looking at volunteering at places like food banks, donating to local organizations that help provide basic needs such as food, shelter, and clothing can be very helpful. You can also volunteer for organizations that focus on financial literacy or offering resources to help people achieve financial stability. Now, some examples of this are Habitat for Humanity and Feeding America. Both organizations I will link in the video description. Okay, and finally, let's dive into these new moon writing prompts. What I'll do is I will read them out for you. They will also be in the video description. And if you have your Auralign Astrology Planner, you can go ahead and flip on over to May's dedicated new moon ritual page to write all of these prompts out. What is your favorite way to unwind, and how has it helped you in the past? What are some of the main drivers behind what you do? So what is your why? What does a reasonable routine look like for you that supports your overall health? And finally, moving into this new lunar cycle, do you have any new or existing intentions or goals? These can be new or existing and align with rest, personal or professional endeavors. All right, friends, I hope that you enjoyed those writing prompts. And if you did, or if anything came up that you'd like to share, I'd love to hear it in the comment section below. And if you made it to the end of this video, I'd love if you commented 3 tree emojis, because we are really aligning with this Taurus new moon and getting rooted in our routine, getting rooted through practices and routines that really empower us to keep growing. Whether that looks like being in action for some, or really resting, bringing our energy, calling it back to ourselves. That way, when this lunar cycle begins, we have that energy there to build momentum around the life we'd like to lead. But with all of that said, I will end this video with my favorite quote. And that is, say it with me, this is our affirmation: be gentle with yourself, because life is about the journey, not the destination. All right, bye friends. Peace.